The Wicked King and the Orphan Girl. In a faraway land, there was a king named Oba Adekono. He ruled the kingdom of Ajinla with cruelty and greed. His people whispered tales of his wickedness, how he taxed the poor until they starved, imprisoned anyone who dared speak against him, and cared for no one but himself. Even the palace servants feared the king's wrath, for his punishments were swift and merciless. One stormy night, the sky roared with thunder, and rain poured like a river from the heavens. At the gate of the grand palace stood a young orphan girl named Adis. She was drenched to the bone, her tiny frame shivering in the cold. Her eyes, wide and filled with desperation, searched for a miracle. She had wandered far from her village, driven out by hunger and rejection. She had no family, no home, and no friends. When she saw the lights of the palace through the storm, she thought, perhaps the king will have pity. Perhaps he will help me. But Adis did not know the kind of man King Adekono was. When the palace guards spotted her, they scowled. "Who are you, and why are you here?" barked one of them. "I am Adis," she said, her voice barely audible over the rain. "I have no food, no shelter. Please, let me stay. I will work. I will do anything." The guards laughed cruelly. "Do you think the king cares for a beggar like you?" one sneered. "Leave before we throw you into the dungeons." Just then, the great palace doors creaked open, and King Adekono himself stepped out. His towering figure was silhouetted against the flickering torchlight, his face a mask of stern authority. His dark eyes scanned the scene, locking onto the trembling figure of Adis. "Who disturbs my peace at this hour?" his deep voice boomed, silencing the guards. The guards quickly stepped aside, revealing Adis. She fell to her knees, her head bowed low. "Your Majesty," she whispered, "I beg for your mercy. I have no one. I only ask for a chance to serve you." The king stared at her, his expression unreadable. The guards held their breath, waiting for him to order her removal, or worse. But instead, something unexpected happened. "Take her to the servants' quarters," he said abruptly. "She will earn her keep here." The guards exchanged shocked glances but obeyed without question. Adis was led into the palace, her heart pounding. She did not understand why the king had spared her, but she was grateful. Over the weeks, Adis worked tirelessly in the palace. She scrubbed floors, carried water, and tended to the gardens. Despite her hard life, she remained cheerful, singing softly as she walked. Her voice, pure and melodic, drifted through the halls, catching the attention of everyone, even the king. At first, King Adekono dismissed her songs as mere noise. But as days turned into weeks, he found himself pausing to listen. Her voice stirred something deep within him, something he thought he had buried long ago. One evening, he summoned her to the royal court. Adis was terrified, thinking she had done something wrong. She knelt before the throne, her head bowed. "Look at me," the king commanded. Slowly, she raised her eyes to meet his. For a moment, he was struck by their depth, by the quiet strength they held. "Who taught you to sing like that?" he asked. "No one, my king," she replied. "It is a gift from my mother. She used to sing to me before she passed." Her words softened the king's heart, though he did not show it. "Sing for me," he ordered. Adis sang, her voice filling the chamber with a melody so hauntingly beautiful that even the king's cold heart trembled. For the first time in years, he felt something other than anger and greed. He felt warmth. But the more the king grew fond of Addis, the more restless he became. He could not understand why this orphan girl had such an effect on him. It was as if her presence peeled away the layers of his cruelty, exposing a part of himself he had long forgotten. Yet Addis had secrets of her own. One night, as the moon cast its silver glow over the palace, a group of elders arrived unexpectedly. They demanded an audience with the king, their faces grave. "What is so urgent that you disturb me at this hour?" King Adikona asked, irritated. The eldest among them stepped forward. "Your Majesty," he said, "the girl you have taken in is no ordinary orphan. She is the last of the royal bloodline of Ikena, the kingdom you destroyed many years ago." The king froze. Memories of his conquest of Ikena flooded back, how he had ordered the annihilation of its royal family, leaving no survivors. Or so he thought. Addis, standing silently in the shadows, listened in shock as the truth of her past unfolded. She realized who she truly was, and why she had always felt like she didn't belong in the world of the common folk. The revelation shook the palace. The king was torn. Should he send her away to protect his throne? Or should he confront the growing feelings in his heart, feelings that whispered of redemption and love? The answer would change not only the lives of the king and the orphan but the fate of the entire kingdom of Ijinla. The storm that brought Addis to the palace was just the beginning. The real tempest was yet to come.